Hello and welcome to this Jane's Weather Update. Here's what we have today. A lot of activity over the south of the country, not a lot happening in the north, which is what you would expect at this time of year. But let's unpack what's happening down through here, particularly over the recent months. So I've gone back 5 months here, having a look at drought. And yes, we did have some in the very southern parts of Western Australia. We've got a huge area here, pretty much from Adelaide and beyond through to about Melbourne, a little bit over the ranges there, plus Western Tasmania. Let's bring that into just the last 3 months. This one here disappeared. These ones increased, but it is the off season for that. This one is still very firmly here, while this has decreased. So this area here from Adelaide to Melbourne and down into Western Tasmania are in severe rainfall deficiencies. So what happened over the past week? Very exciting. We had this one actually move through. So there was a cut-off low. Cut-off meaning it doesn't move as quickly as it normally would with those westerly winds that are to our south whisking things through. Cut-off means it can wander and deliver bigger falls to those who are in its path. So we did have one of those moving through, which was really, really nice. What do we have on the horizon? Yes, there is a little bit more. Let's have a look here. So high pressure, still dominant, still in the way. It's causing a lot of heat. I'll have more on that in a moment. So this one is sitting just out through here and will be out over the Tasman Sea over the next couple of days. We've got systems galore lining up to cross the south. So that one's moving in. It has got its skates on and it is moving into Victoria and the southeast by later on today. There's another one in behind it, another one in behind it, and more of those in behind there. So over the next week, this is where our pattern is. Again, mainly all in the south, but there is a little bit of activity that is moving through here. In the southwest, I'll show you the days that the rain is peaking in through there, so it's not all the time. There are some breaks in between. In the southeast, I'll show you the timing of when these are coming through as well. But these are some nice falls here, so it's 10 millimetres. As soon as you get to the yellow, it is 15 in the light green, 25 and 50 millimetres through these parts here as soon as you're moving into the blue. Right, so that's the total for the next week across, average across all of the different weather models. Heading to day one, which is Friday, here's this system moving through, that one with its skates on, rapidly crossing the bight. It's southeast and South Australia, all of Victoria, all of Tasmania, tapering off as you head into New South Wales. The next one moving through the southwest and continuing it there into tomorrow, while this one moves away as we move into Saturday. Sunshine reappears quickly in behind it. It has its skates on, it's a fast mover. As we move into Sunday, another one is moving in through the southeast here, a break in the southwest. That continues into Monday, again, a break in the southwest, and then another system coming back up for Tuesday as we move into the southwest, with yet another one coming up into the southeast. That one there has some good rainfall potential as we go through mid to late next week. That'll be 1, 2, maybe even 3 weather systems that are coming in. So yes, there's high pressure still in the way. In terms of alpine snow, it is going to allow a little bit of snow to fall, but there's still a fair bit of rain involved in this one. But if you're down on the land, this is good news for rain if you're in southeastern Australia. All right, let's have a look at what that means here. So this is for next week. This is looking at the Euro model and the week as a whole, how much above or below average things are looking in terms of rainfall. And we've got this clipping into the southwest, knowing that that doesn't include the weekend because this begins on Monday. And we've got this moving through the southeast. All fairly dry for this time of year, which is what we're expecting. But this is lovely signs for the southeast there. As we move into the week following, that dries up. So we've got next week, we've got that great rainfall coming through. Is it enough to undo the drought? No, probably not, because we're 100 to 200 millimetres short of where we need to be. But it does taper off as we move into week 2, which begins the 2nd of September. A little bit of activity happening up in the north here, otherwise fairly brown tones. Moving into the 2nd week of September, this is interesting. Is this a bit of a tropical influence there, spreading down a rain band into the southeast, but missing the southeast corner there? Yeah. So we've got that to potentially look forward to. Moving into, here we are, 16th to the 23rd of September, lots more green across the map. Things happening in Queensland, starting to get activity happening as we're moving into those spring months. So that's what we've got in the next couple of weeks ahead. Let's have a look at temperature. In the week prior, it has been incredibly warm over a large part of the country. Not the southwest, but yes, all through central parts and in the east here as well. So this is how much above average overall across the week. If we go earlier and have a look at June, no, not this one here. We go longer and have a look at July here. Got my right month there now. We had a mix. So there were some cool parts that came through here, which was mainly associated with rain as it came through. So that's where we were in July. But now if we look at the last week, incredibly warm. What is that likely to do? It is likely to continue. So here we are back to that Euro model again. This is next week, starting on Monday, and that's an incredibly warm signal as over the interior of the country. In the first week of September, if I'm seeing those temperatures that much above average in the centre, I start to get a little bit nervous. Why do I get a little bit nervous? Because this means the country, the interior here, it is starting to bake, it is starting to dry out, and once we have a big ball of heat that is over the interior of the country, whenever you get a westerly wind into Brisbane, a northwesterly down in the southeast, a northeasterly over in the southwest here, that is a ball of heat that is feeding those winds and bringing above average temperatures. So this is always a little bit of a concern for me when I see that at this time of year. Now, if rain comes in and gets rid of all of that heat, then it's no concern. If that rain doesn't come, then that ball of heat is sitting there, it's ripe and it's ready to go. All right, so this is next week. And we're looking at above average temperatures heading forward in time. We're still looking at above average temperatures as we start the 2nd of September, that week there, going into the 3rd week. It's still looking red, and into the 4th week, maybe a break, but there's still some there in the outlook. So that's as we go into the 1st week of October. So that is something to keep an eye on, that the heat is likely to stick around. The thing that would get rid of that is a big, strong cold front coming up from the southeast, not just, as in from the south, not just hitting the southwest and then sliding as it moves across the southeast, but actually peaking as it moves through here, bringing that cold air right up into Queensland, having some sort of chance of removing that heat. The other thing that gets rid of it is rain moving through the interior. So have a look out for those two things. All right, that's our rain, that's our temperature. Let's have a look at what's causing this in terms of the longer term factors. What is bringing this weather to us? Southern annular mode, known as SAM. This is what our cold fronts and troughs are doing, what the weather pattern is doing. You'll notice this went off the chart. So that's how strongly negative it has been for quite some time now. You'll notice that we are recovering here. This was caused by what is known as a sudden stratospheric warming. Stratospheric means it's really up high in the atmosphere. It's above the South Pole. It's up above where the planes fly. So that gives you an idea of how high up in the air it is. What that did was help cold fronts come up from the Southern Ocean and actually impact Australia. Now, you may be seeing the southeast going, sorry, what are you talking about? We didn't get any strong cold fronts. I'm at the Alpine resorts, and sorry, where is our snow? Where are our strong cold fronts? It doesn't mean it's going to hit the southeast necessarily. It certainly hit the southwest of the country, and they had front after front after front come through that were strong. So that caused that. It says, yes, we're going to get strong cold fronts. It doesn't tell you where they're going to peak. So that's what we have for this one here. Now, this is the Bureau's model. They totally missed this particular thing that was moving through here. It was always neutral, and then it went, okay, right, we're all the way down here, but the forecast is neutral. So I've always said don't count this in weeks 2 and onwards because it always goes back to neutral. This one here may have a little handle on what's happening here now that we're starting to come out with it. Maybe this one here, trough, cut off low. We'll see. That's our southern annual mode. Heading into MJO, Madden-Julian oscillation. Weird graph, but do bear with me. What does this mean? Whenever this pulse comes here into the green zone, that's a drive-by for Australia, and it's a pulse of energy that moves around the tropics. Why do we care about that? Because the water in the tropics can hold this much moisture. Hopefully you can't even see the edges of my hands there. It's so much moisture. Whereas the water that's to our south holds about this much moisture. So we like that tropical moisture to influence our weather systems, and this tells us when there's the potential for one of those connections. So whenever this comes, as it moves in through here, that's when we get a little bit excited, because it means that whenever someone in Australia has a weather system, it could have more moisture that's going into it and deliver those bigger falls. So here we are now. We're about to, as I said, have a drive-by for Australia here as we move through 23rd, 24th, so that's us now, and moving as we move across these parts here into early September. Now, it moves away again, but there is another one that's coming in through here, which may be related to that rainfall that we're seeing in the middle of the, where are we? There's next week, week 2. week 3. So that may be that tropical connection that allows that to happen. Cool. All right, heading into sea surface temperature anomaly, how much warmer or cooler the surface of the ocean is. We have a look at the boxes. Heading out in through here, over the last week, blue has started to return in this western part of the Indian Ocean box. Before that, it did get a little bit excited blue, and then it disappeared completely. Let me show you its disappearance completely here. It got excited, and then it started to go back up again. Now, in the last week, the last couple of days, this has started to have some blue bits appear in through there again. Now, none of this is a strong signal at all. And so the forecast we have here for what the Indian Ocean is doing is all just very wishy-washy. So they've all now completely stopped going into the negative. They've all now stopped going into the positive, and they're all just sitting there in the middle. So it looks like the Indian Ocean isn't going to have a big impact on what we're doing. That is in terms of encouraging that moisture to come our way or discouraging it, as in moving it away from Australia. But heading back to that map, this here is all warmer than average. So much of the water out in the Indian Ocean is warmer than average. That means instead of this much moisture, there's even more moisture. My hands are really, really out there because there is extra moisture to play with. It's not necessarily being pushed here, but when it does, say from that MJO, it may have a little bit of an enhancement on what we can do. So the Indian Ocean, not actively impacting us, but may have a little bit more moisture for us to play with. All right, let's head over to the Pacific Ocean. This is our La Nina or El Nino, and this here is the box that we look at. It was all yellowy red. Now the blues have come in. They waned for a little bit. They came back again, and then they waned a little bit. Let's have a look here what happened. So we went down into neutral here. It's weakened off a little bit. It came back. It's bobbing around. So there's, again, still no clear-cut thing of what's going on here. This is dead even in the middle, which is what you can see is happening in this box. It's half yellow, it's half blue. Under the surface, there is still some blue, some cool water to actually feed that, but it's not as big as what it once was. So this is telling us that, let's have a look at the models and tell us what the models are actually telling us here. So here we are sitting right on average. Now we've got 1, 2, 3 that actually go across that threshold. We've got a fourth one that just bumps it as we move through October, November. Now, still, they've got it at the end of month. This has been a very slow burn. We've been talking about this since about April, May this year. We're like, later this year, it's likely to go there. It's a very long process to go from one phase right into the other one. So 1, 2, 3 models. The fourth is on the fence. This one comes close. These two don't like it. They like us to continue in that just 50-50 wishy-washy, nothing much happening going on. So that means not pushing it towards us, not pushing away either, whereas these ones here like that moisture to be pushed towards Australia. So that's the difference in what the models are suggesting there. The important thing to note here is no one is up in through this part here, so they're not suggesting that it's going to go back yellow. It's all whether it actually continues filling in that blue or it just sits on its own sort of wishy-washy nothingness. So potential from some of the models to push that moisture. The other models are suggesting, we've got a little bit there. I'm not going to actively push it towards you. But again, we've got all of this warmer than average water that's off the coast of Queensland. We've got it up in through here as well. That is an additional source of moisture. So whenever we've got our weather patterns allowing us to access that moisture, it could have more than what we would normally have. Cool. Okay, so that's all of those. Let's head into what the actual forecasts are. Now, this one here is from the Bureau's model. I'm going to show you each of them as we go through. So this is September through to November. Remove that there. We have got greens here in the eastern parts of the country. We have got blues over there in the western parts. So that means that would be 3 out of 10 years we exceed the average rainfall when the weather pattern is looking like this. So 3 out of 10 years, we actually exceed it. That's 7 out of 10 years that we don't exceed it. So that's drier than average. There's still 3 years that were wetter than average, but 7 of them that were drier. If we head into the east, that's up around the 6, 7. So that's 6 or 7 years out of those 10 years that were wetter than average, and only 3 or 4 that were drier than average. Now, yes, that is 3 or 4 that were drier than average with all of this going on, but it's 6 or 7 that were wetter. So that's kind of how you interpret this sort of map here. It's September through to November, and it's from the Bureau's model. You'll notice the pattern there, lots of greens here, lots of browns in through there. Let's have a look at another model. This is the Euro model, September, October, November, very different. So this one's got all browns in through here. It's actually got greens across the southeast. That's interesting. It's got that green signal there, which the Bureau had as well, but it doesn't have huge drying coming in from the Indian Ocean, but it does have it coming in from the Pacific. So that would indicate to me that the Euro model thinks that the Pacific isn't getting to that blue stage just yet. It may still in the future. Let's actually head forward in time here. So we've got October, November, December, starting to see some greens come in here. We're looking at November, December, January, more greens and help from the Indian as well. And heading into December, January, February, so that's summer, and lots of greens in through there. So the Euro is saying not immediately. Let's go back into September, October, November. So it's a wait. It's saying that we're probably going to get there where we get extra moisture coming from the Pacific, but we're not there yet, and it's not likely over the next month or two. Let's have a look at another one, which is the Americans. This is what the Americans are saying. This is September, October, November. They've got some very bright colours on this map, don't they? But that's a lot of green that is over the southeast of the country. What would cause that? We know that last year we had our high pressure system sitting so that it picked up all the moisture from the Tasman Sea and through here, which was incredibly warm and still is. So that was our moisture source. And it delivered rain all through these parts here, thanks to how the weather pattern was sitting. This is showing that it's not likely to be above average through all of these northern parts. Interesting. So a similar thing here where it's saying the Pacific not kicking into gear yet, but maybe it is actually helping in through here. Maybe it's the Tasman as well, and also has that green signal in the southwest there. Now, Canada, unfortunately, does August, September, October. It's incredibly green, which is interesting. And then it jumps to November, December, January. So that doesn't really help us out. That's also moving into those blue zones there. This is the Canadian model. It's the one that I would throw in the bin if I could not actually show it to you. So let's move on. Okay, let's have a look at what is likely over the next week. I'm going to start with Brisbane and work my way around the capital cities. So as always, you can head to janesweather.com and get the 10-day outlook for your particular spot. You'll notice that we now have some icons in here. What is this one on the left-hand side? That is the overnight icon. So from 6 p.m. last night through to 6 a.m. this morning. And this one here is the daytime icon. So it doesn't include anything that's coming in the evening. That's in the next day's icon. Okay, you'll notice there's a lot of sunshine in through there. So Brisbane, not seeing a lot of rain, 0.2 millimetres, that is it. Temperatures. It is August. Brisbane, the average, so the long-term average, when you consider all of the August that we've recorded it, 23 degrees is the average maximum. That's a 32 we've got there. We've got a 26, 25, 28, 32, 29, 32. I'll move my head out of the way, 31 and 29. 34 being the biggest one, which is next Saturday. So the heat is on for Brisbane, and it is likely to continue as we move through the foreseeable future. So that's the overwhelming description for Brisbane. It's sunny, there's no wet weather, and it's much warmer than average. Let's head into Sydney. There is no wet weather today. We're looking at about 21-ish. We move to 27 tomorrow. There's a bit of rain coming through in the morning as we move through there. Then the temperature skyrockets. A bit more rain, potentially stormy as we move through Sunday morning, and then going into a bit of a dry spell where temperatures rise once again. So that's the mixed bag outlook for Sydney. Heading into Melbourne, here we are, 19 or 20 today. We've got cloud building and there's some wet weather on its way. Let's unpack this by hitting this Pro button here so you can see what each of the weather models are doing. This is really important to consider how many models are actually suggesting this rain is going to come here. Because if it's just one weather model, then that's the other three that don't like it. And that tells you that there's very low confidence coming in. This one tells us that each of them like it. Now, some of them are coming in a bit earlier. These ones are lasting a bit longer, but generally very late afternoon into the early hours of the morning. This is coming through with 1 to 5 millimetres. And let me just move forward through hours there and up to 5 millimetres. That's that early bit in the morning tomorrow. So that's when our rain is coming. It does come with a gusty northerly wind overnight. Temperatures will be very mild, sitting around the 15, 16 degree mark as that rain is coming through. And then look what happens tomorrow. It rapidly clears, nothing left by dawn. Temperatures skyrockets back up to 23, bright sunshine. So yes, rain overnight. In Melbourne, we'll have a sunny and incredibly warmer than average Saturday. 23, the average at this time of year is 15. So yes, enjoy it while we've got it. Okay, then as we move into Sunday, warm until the next system hits. This one thinks it comes in earlier, around midday. This one likes to begin about 3 in the afternoon. These two like it to be late afternoon. Storms are a potential with this one. So on Sunday, it's warm, it's a little bit windy coming from the north until showers and thunderstorms hit. Then the temperature will plummet. So that's what we've got for Melbourne. Having a look at another bit here. Now, I've just picked out Glen Iris here, but just to show you, when I was talking about the rainfall in through here, really important to determine how many of these models are actually suggesting it. And this is a new feature which should drop in the next week. So this is our percentage chance of precipitation. What does it mean? It is how many models are actually suggesting that there is wet weather in this particular hour. So this is key guidance for you in your working out how likely this rain is to actually fall. How many of the models are like it, how many don't. So this shows us that late in the afternoon, it's only half of them that like it. As we move through here, nearly all of them like it. All of them like it between 5 and 6 p.m. So that is more likely when it's going to begin, and then it'll taper off, and it's only one model that still likes it in through here. So just a little bit of an idea of what's coming in terms of our development. Let's head over to Adelaide, and here is the rain moving through today. It's not cold. We're still 23, 24 degrees, and that eases as we go into the evening. As we move into Saturday, we've got lovely sunshine in through there, so no more rain as we go into Saturday, but it does come back for Sunday and temperatures drop. 18, 17 back up on Tuesday and then back down on Wednesday, so more of a roller coaster in store for the southern states. And over to Perth, the timing on this one is today. Tomorrow could be quite heavy in the early hours of the morning. Let's unpack that there. So having a look at Saturday, here's when the next cold front comes in. You can see it. It's northerly winds turning westerly. Let's have a look at these gusts in through here. They could be as high as 65, 68, 67 k's an hour in the early hours of the morning. So look out for that. And that's when the rain is coming too. So that's when we have most of that wet weather, but it continues through the day. We're about 18. This side of the country missing out on that heat. It's more of a central and eastern thing because we're all around the high teens, just to 20-degree mark. Taking a break here on Monday. The next wet weather system comes back on Tuesday. Okay, that's it from me for today. Bit of a big one because I did miss last week, but hopefully that gets you right up to date. And as always, head to janesweather.com for the latest information for your spot. I'll see you next week.